There's attacks, and then there's attacks, and then there's attacks. Not all attacks are made equally. Let's talk about it.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
Hey, welcome back to Certified Ethical Hacker V12, or if this is your first episode, welcome. I'm your host, Sophie, here with Daniel. We're going to talk today about some attack classifications slash types slash categories.
I like it.
Synonyms.
Judges? Judges will allow it.
Only God can judge me. Don't you dare bring that mess in here. So we're going to talk about some different classifications of attacks. So we should jump right in?
We jump right in. We got plenty to get through, so might as well just do the thing.
Do the thing. So what are some of the classifications we need to be aware of?
All right, so there are specific classifications, let's be very clear here, that you need to understand for your CEH. There it is, right? I've got my quibbles, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for your exam, this is the list of them: passive attacks, active attacks, close-in attacks, insider attacks, and wait for it, distribution attacks. That's one. Anyway, so those are the attack types we're going to go over today, those categories, so that we make sure that when we see an attack, we put it in its proper bin, right? We would hate to put a passive attack in a distribution attack. That would just make us look silly.
Yeah. We need to put it in a box.
Yeah, we can.
Put it in a box, girl.
That's right.
Put it in a box.
As you do.
As you do.
There you go.
Let's start with passive attacks, because I'm a little afraid, and that sounds like a nice, safe place to start. Passive attacks.
It's like your mother-in-law, right? Or she insults you in a backhanded way.
Sure.
Complisult, I think they call that.
Yeah,
right?
we'll go
She's
with
very
that.
passive
I can't
aggressive.
relate, so that's. But I'll take your word for it. Sure.
I'm alluding to passive aggressiveness, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm being mean, but in a subtle way.
Okay, so that's what a passive attack would be.
Right. It's kind of along those lines where I'm not raising any red flags. I'm not. You probably wouldn't even know this was happening, honestly, because what I'm doing is I'm not doing anything that's poking the system with a stick. I'm just looking at it, right? You could never know if I were analyzing you. This is going to get weird because I'm thinking, think of a stalker, right? You do not know that they are there until they actually do something wrong. But it's just that they're weird and they're creepy.
They're just around.
And they're around observing.
Yeah.
Where passive attacks are kind of that weird, creepy observer.
Yeah.
Where they're watching, they're waiting.
So this is like, you're not necessarily doing anything illegal.
No, actually.
Because this is all
probably
available.
not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. You're basically just analyzing anything that could be easily analyzed. So what time do people start business? So I'm guessing most computer activity is between the times of blank and blank. Okay, I'll write that down, right? Okay. Can I see what kind of systems they're running? If I stand outside the building, kind of look in the mirror, or not in the mirror, the window, and there's a bunch of MacBooks in there. Oh no, they're running ThinkPads. Okay, what kind of operating systems are they running? I can just see. Maybe I'll walk in the building and look behind a desk. Is that got a Windows, screensaver going on? Okay, they're probably running a Windows environment. Right? Anything I can do to glean information without actually ever asking for it, I guess is a good way to go. Right? I'm not asking for this information. I'm just gathering information passively. Okay. Now, there are some, we've kind of worked at this generally in some weird and odd ways, but there are more technical ways in which you can do this. I think of things like doing network sniffing and traffic analysis and things of that nature, where it's just running across a wire, and if it hits your computer, you can look at it, right? Think of things like Wireshark that we use to do that kind of stuff, right? So what can I glean from this? I can do clear text passwords. I can look at anything that's in the clear, that would be gathered that way. If I had access to a network cable or an input jack, or maybe they have an open Wi-Fi, I just connect and start looking at information. Okay, so that's one way to do it. Other sensitive information might be in the clear as well, just names and times and dates and systems that they're being connected to. I can gather a list of different not attributes, but pieces to their system, hosts, and just doing that analysis. How many systems are there? What kind of systems are they? Where do they live? I get MAC addresses, IP addresses. I get all sorts of good stuff from just looking at network traffic that clearly passes through my system on a day-to-day basis. Just typically rejects it because it's not intended for it. So that's one way to go about it. Okay. And the interesting thing about this, it's dang near impossible, if not impossible, to detect that this is occurring. So it's very useful to the attacker or someone who's being an ethical hacker working for a client. Because you're never gonna, I say never, hedge my bets here. It's highly unlikely for yous out there that can give me an edge case. That's highly unlikely that someone would detect that these types of things are going on. You would have to do something really silly to, bring attention to yourself.
Yeah.
But if I'm just sitting across the street with a pair of binos going, hey, what's going on over here? That kind of idea, it's going to be really hard to detect that because I can just say, oh, I'm just looking at the birds.
Yeah.
Right?
Binos aren't illegal.
They're not.
They're not.
Right? There's nothing illegal being done. And even if you did catch me doing it, I didn't do anything illegal.
You can't prove that I'm doing something with nefarious intent.
You are giving this information out. This is typically part of OSINT and stuff like that, where you're open source intelligence gathering. So that is definitely things you want to do. You can also, if you have the ability to maybe a system is using a weak encryption mechanism, I think of Wi-Fi, right? I can decrypt that Wi-Fi because it's weak. I can break that. And then I'm able, and you wouldn't know I'm doing it because I do it offline. It's not like an online attack. Sometimes it can be, but it's not necessarily. So that is a possibility that you are breaking weaker encryption schemes that are being used. I think old TLS or SSL encryptions, things of that nature, that you could possibly be breaking to gain more information that is what they think is secure. So maybe more sensitive information would be gleaned that way as well. So really interesting. The passive attack seems kind of yawn, but it's actually really helpful because once you gathered a bunch of information, you are much better prepared to go after your clients and figure out where their weak spots are in that vein, because that's where most people start when they attack a system, is what can I just learn by watching? So really don't skip that phase. It's good attacks.
Can I ask a curiosity question really
yes,
quick?
you may.
So there's a website that Daniel told me about a while ago called Grey Hat Warfare that I can't do much, but I can type things in.
That.
What do you call it? Bucket kicking, I guess.
Yeah.
Would that be a form of a passive attack? Because you're not actively I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not going to do anything.
That absolutely would.
But it's publicly available.
So if you go to Grey Hat Warfare, we can do that. Let's show them that, right?
Yes. Okay.
So I've got Wireshark up because I was going to show Wireshark and totally forgot about it, right? So there's Wireshark. You hit the old, capture stuff and you hit, continue without saving. And you start watching information rolling on in, right? And there it is. I can see protocols and IP addresses. I'm just going to stop this. There's IP addresses, where it's going from, where it's going to, what protocol it was. I can even look into the packet itself, maybe anything that's in clear text, thinking of passwords, things of that nature. Could totally grab that using something like Wireshark if I'm on that network. Obviously, there's caveats to all these things on when and where you can perform these things, but once you know that and how that works, it's just as simple as turning the thing on, okay? So let's jump to a browser. Let's take a look at Grey Hat Warfare here. There we go.
Nice.
There we go. Is it G-R-E-Y or G-R-A-Y? A-Y. Grey Hat Warfare. Booyah. And there you go. Public buckets. This is for cloud technology. So if I wanted to look for, this is all passive. I haven't done anything to any of these systems. And I can look for, wow, that's super fast. Stop scrolling, you crazy machine, right? So if I'm looking for keywords, give me a keyword. Like
key.
Key, yes, there you go. Key, there's a hint there. Order by, cool, last modified is probably a good way to go to give you more recent stuff. Order by descending, that's fine as well. And then file extensions, I don't think we're going to worry about that. Let's just hit search. Don't I have to put in a domain, or it just gives me everything?
Can you do .ppk for the file extension?
.ppk, sure. .ppk. There you go.
Just out of curiosity, I just want to see what comes up.
Search.
You're not registered.
Yeah, I'm not logged in because
I'm registered, so that's
just
why.
not popped in.
I have
It's free to register.
I have that privilege.
So enjoy that. But so we'll have to snatch that off. No PPK files for you.
Oh.
There you go. Let's hit search. Oh, man.
What?
Are they locking this thing down? Purchase a premium or enterprise account? What? Oh,
'cause
because
you have it
results
sorted.
sorting.
That's
Goodness
fun.
gracious. They really, whatever. I didn't even put that. It just was already there. That's crazy. Order by. Maybe that was it. There we go. Search. There we go. As a free user, I am searching all sorts of crazy stuff. 2,468 from the 8,200 or 727 results. Million, by the way. That's million files in the index. And you can look down here and scroll. There are some things and stuff. You can click
Wow.
on these things. So there is tech key. This is a PNG.
That's
we
where
do
the
have,
file extension thing would come in
like,
handy.
what's this fixed family key.txt? I don't know what's in here. Interesting.
Interesting.
But if that was my target, I could look for it. Obviously, the premium edition is going to allow you to target a whole lot easier, as we've kind of seen in there. This is just.
But it is passive
it is absolutely
because you're
passive.
not. It's public.
Correct.
But the buckets are public. You're not breaking anything.
Yeah.
So-
fun resource. It's not in the notes, but Gray Hat Warfare. You saw me Google it, and it comes right up. Right? It's with
Sorry.
an A, not an
I didn't
A.
mean to derail the expedition.
That's
I was
all.
just curious.
No, it's
'cause-
really cool. I like that because it just keeps us moving and talking about things that are relevant to this. And that is a very relevant thing, that this is a great way to gain passive information about your targets, like their AWS keys or other sensitive information
Yeah.
that's in an AWS S3 bucket. Because that never happens. No one ever puts sensitive info in a public bucket. It happens all the time. All the time.
That's why I don't use it because
So there you go.
I probably would end up doing that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I stick to because I'm not attacking anybody. I'm just poking around and like this is just that's cool. Look what I found, and I don't do anything with it. But the other kind of attack on the other end of the spectrum, or one of the other kinds of attacks,
Yes.
I should say, would be an active attack.
Active attack. Guess what that means? So if we had passive attack where we're just kind of like hands off, just observing, watching, using some tools, but not really like probing for information. And if we are probing for information, it's vicariously through other means, right? Through a proxy of some kind. Active attacks is like, okay, I'm going to start hitting it with a stick and see what happens. Hey, if I poke you here, what do you do? What do you do? Think of your Nmap scans. Think of just like any kind of vulnerability assessment scan, so a web application scanner, denial of service attacks. Like we are now actively engaged in attacking the target.
This is probably what people think of when they think of hacking.
Yes. Yeah. Because ultimately you have to move into this type of attack if you want to make an inroad into your target itself, right? So what are some other good ones? Like password attacks, I guess, would be good ones. So if you got like a login, can I just kind of brute force my way through that login? Is that possible? Can I do an injection attack? Is there like an input form that allows me to manipulate the system some way because through the input, either through a web application or a network some sort of service? How can I work with the system but actively kind of roll my way through things until I find a weak spot?
Okay.
And then use that weak spot to gain that access. So remote RCEs, like remote command injections, remote code injections, or executions, should I say. SQL injections, privilege escalation attacks. These are all things that you do actively, right? Denial of service is probably one of the better, like really, in my mind anyway, this is subjective. To me, like a denial of service, it is the epitome to me of an active attack. Like I am actively coming against you and trying to drop you to your knees so that you cannot be there for your clients.
You cannot function.
Right. You are down for the count. Ha 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 ha. Until I allow you to get up. That's where it's going to be. One of my favorites is, I actually pulled this up, I think. Was it this one? Yeah. So I just brought in, this is good old Metasploit, right? And they have in there one of my favorite denial of service attacks, which is the Slow Loris attack, as you can see right there. Just did a little search for Slow Loris after I accidentally forgot to put search. And then it only has this one module for it, so it's pretty simple to work with. And don't worry, we'll look at Metasploit a little more down the road. Just kind of wanted to show you this. And then I looked at the options so that we can see what's going on here. And there's my pop-up. It's just kind of delay, This is a denial of service attack, which you can see right there, DOS. And it goes against the web servers. So it's meant to drop them to their knees and make them go, I cannot service HTTP requests because I'm too busy dealing with this. And it just puts the hammer down and never stops requesting information from it, exhausting it, making it go, I can't handle all this info. I'm done. I'm like a blackjack dealer. I'm out. Just cannot deal with this. So slow loris, a really interesting one. I think we'll probably even cover that in this course, honestly, when we get to denial of services.
Okay.
So there you go. Those are active attacks.
Slow Loris sounds to me like if you had a friend in middle school that was named Dolores, that like if somebody was bullying her, they'd be like, Dolores, more like Slow Loris, and they're just like a really dumb bully.
Just a bad
They can't think of
middle school
anything
joke.
better. Yeah. That's what that sounds like to me. So I'll remember that.
Well, you must understand that most of us in cybersecurity are children.
Yeah, it's evidence of that right there.
Yeah. Prime
both are.
example right here. Yeah.
I'm not quite in cybersecurity yet, but I'm getting there.
You'll be there soon enough.
I'm getting there. So we talked about passive attacks, active attacks. What about close-in attacks, where you've got to be physically close to your target, right?
Okay, it's interesting they use this term close in. I think this is another one of those like CEH things, because I've never heard anybody talk about close in attacks, and it does exist. It is some terminology that's out there in the world, but it's not my everyday parlance, but they definitely call it out for your CEH exam, so here it is for you. Close in just means that you have proximity to your target, like personally. Like how I'm close in proximity to Sophia right now, that would be a close-in attack. And this manifests itself in a couple of different ways. Think of social engineering, where if maybe she was the gatekeeper to some area in a building I wanted to get to, I would have to get close in proximity so that I could go, hey, I'm with the telco company. I'm here to, I need to get access to your server closet. And I spin a yarn that she would believe, and I try to present myself in a way that would make that story believable, and that she would give me access or tell me information that she should not. So types of social engineering attacks like that would be considered like a close-in attack. A couple others as well, because it doesn't just have to be physical access to a person. It could be physical access to a device, a computer system, right? This would definitely be bad, right? So if I have close-in access to a computer system, we have real problems at this point. But those are types of close-in attacks.
Okay, so stuff like eavesdropping and dumpster diving, where you've got to be close to the stuff.
Yeah, anytime you can get near the person, dumpster diving and eavesdropping are shoulder surfing, right? That too, like going by and people, I used to do it all the time, man. It's so easy, right?
From the time you were in middle school, right?
Yeah, actually, we've talked about this quite a bit. It's just so easy to do. Yeah. And because people, it's weird. They get this thing in their body that says, don't insult someone by thinking that they're trying to look at my stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So they don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, but we use that to our advantage to go, yeah, don't make me feel uncomfortable.
Social niceties come in handy.
What you doing there? What's that on your screen? Can I look at that? That'd be nice. You typing in your password, are you? Don't mind.
Let me just pull out a...
Yeah. I'm writing a grocery list.
Yeah. How dare you accuse me?
Yeah. You horrible person, you. But honestly, that's social engineering along with shoulder surfing, right? Is that if I got caught, I'd be like, how dare you insinuate that I was trying to look at your password? Yeah. Right? You horrible, horrible person. Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, no, you can, why would I want your password? Right? That's how it kind of goes. So yeah, dumpster diving, eavesdropping, anytime you can like get close to those things and get your hands on them. Yeah. That would be close-in attacks.
So is there any overlap between close-in attacks and insider attacks?
Yes, absolutely, because an insider is close to systems, right? And insiders, man, they are devastating to organizations that have had insider attacks like lodged against them. So you want to be on the lookout for that. Again, they have this assumed level of trust and everything. I mean, that is really one of the best ways to go about it. I remember reading an article, it might have been this year, but I want to say it was last year, about an organization, I want to say it was Tesla, where somebody had confronted somebody that worked from Tesla and said, hey, we'd love to pay you a bunch of money if you would just plug this USB key into some systems at Tesla. And they were like, sounds interesting. Tell me more. Call the police. And they did. They called the police. The FBI came and they said, well, we don't want to lose this fish. So tell them you're going to meet them and get a meet. We're going to put a wire on you and everything. And they arrested this person. He was a Russian agent. And he said, okay, I'll go to jail. I'm not going to talk because I do this for a living. You're not the first big company we've done this for. And you're only going to sit me in jail for a few years, and then I'll get out and go right back to work. And the people that employ me take care of people that don't talk.
You're right. It was Tesla.
Yeah.
I had to Google it.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a real thing.
Yeah. Insider
That's
threats.
crazy. $1 million
Crazy.
bribery attempt. Wow.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. I mean, they were offering some big bucks.
Yeah.
It was no small change. That's
Good
for
for
sure.
him. Good for him for turning it down.
You know, he was trying to make a living out
What a
there.
guy.
Yeah,
What a nice
making
guy.
his way in the world today. Anything else? Insider attacks. So they have access to like company PII. They have access to, they can steal devices because they have access to them. They can install like that Russian agent wanted them to do. Plug this in. That's all you got to do. It's so simple. It's the big hairy deal here, right? But it's malware, right? Keyloggers and that kind of stuff. They can. That's what they're trying to do, so they can get that information exfiltrated from there. So that they can do. The insider themselves can then perform close-in attacks, and that's how it ties in
Okay.
to the close-in attack, right? Because they can do a social engineering attack,
Right.
right? Oh, I'm just here to do whatever. Oh, yeah, well, you're Bob, and you work here.
So even if you're
fine.
not an insider, you might be able to perform a close-in attack. But just because you perform a close-in attack, that doesn't necessarily
That is
mean that you
correct.
can do.
I actually have an article here I wanted to bring up. So it was
okay.
all about insider threats. I totally forgot to launch that up here. Let me bring it up
Play
here.
some elevator music.
I
here
can do
while-
this. Let's check my typing skills. Let's see here. It is www.k2ee there it is .com / you're making articles / insider threats. There we go. Did I get it right? I think I did. There we go.
There you go.
Insider threats, the worst data breaches caused by malicious insiders. So just kind of grabbed this article. It might not be the worst as the filming of this, but they're still pretty darn bad. So if you want to look at what the damage can be done and how they're done on insider threats, is a good article for you as a reference to just see how that works, so especially with that whole Tesla thing going on here. A lot of really interesting ones in here. And staying on top of these kind of things and how they work out in the world is kind of an important part of our job. So
Yeah.
there is that. So
So take a look at that link. Go take a look at that.
do it. It is in the
article.
show notes.
That
That
is,
link is
yeah.
there. That link is there.
So you can you don't have to do any work. You just copy paste
Just
it.
click.
There you go. So we talked a little bit about what we got: passive, active, close-in, insider. What about your favorite category of attack? Your favorite classification: distribution attacks. Daniel was telling me before the show how much he loves this classification.
So I actually like the classification. I don't like the naming convention they give it. Right? Because most people call them supply chain attacks. Just call them supply chain attacks because they're supply chain attacks. I also have another link here. What you need to know about these SolarWinds. This is kind of a case study, right? So you want to take a look at how did SolarWinds get compromised, and that was a supply chain for the United States government, and therefore the United States government was compromised due to something that they used. And that's what a supply chain or distribution attack is. It is that I have compromised something that you use, and once you start using it, now I have access to you, right? So we've seen this throughout the past as well, but this is probably one of the more current versions of this, of a supply chain attack, and it was one that was definitely super devastating for, this was just about everything in the U.S. government was compromised because of this. It was huge.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was super bad. So I got a nice write-up on that. You can read that case. Got that link right here in the show notes for you. So check that out. Learn a little bit more about how supply chain attacks work by looking at how it worked. And
Crazy.
hopefully you're off to the races on that and you understand supply chain attacks after that. So I'll point you to a nice resource. It's just the fact that I'm going after something that you use, which probably has less security than you do. And therefore I can sneak in. That's how it works.
All right. So talked about 5 different classifications of attack today. We got passive, so that's stuff where you can do stuff maybe from a distance, or you're not really like actively breaking anything or going in and poking at stuff, but it's information that's accessible to you if you look hard enough. Active attacks, which is probably what you think of when you think of hacking. Close-in and insider attacks, related, but not necessarily the same. And your favorite, distribution or supply chain, but if you're taking the exam, distribution. Just keep that in mind. Don't lose that word, distribution attacks. Supply chain attacks, distribution attacks. So we talked about those 5 types of attacks or classifications. Thank you for sticking around for the entirety of this. We will see you next time for CEH V12.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.